The symphony.
Hello, and welcome to MU Inc., a podcast dedicated to the stories behind people's tattoos. I am your host, Dr. Matt Walsh, and I am an assistant professor of social work here at Marian University, and I don't have any tattoos.
And I'm the guest, Brittany McVey. I am a senior social work major here at Marian, and I have 4 tattoos.
All right. Well, so in this podcast, we hear from students, faculty, and staff as they talk about their tattoos, the meaning behind them, what led them to get their tattoos, and other fun details and tidbits along the way. So, Brittany, welcome. Thank you for coming. Before we jump into tattoos, can you just tell me a little bit about even what brought you to Marian?
So I am a non-traditional student. I am back at school in my 30s getting my degree, and I'm here at Marian because my husband is a professor here. Mm-hmm. So once he got the job here and I was ready to go back to school, I came here because that's what made sense to do.
It does make sense, doesn't it? If you don't mind me asking, you have to kind of jump into your husband's brain for a little bit. Like, what was appealing about Marian for him? Because I'm sure, like, he probably, like, had his own process of, finding universities and where he was going to land.
I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I know that we were living in Iowa. He was in grad school at Iowa State, and he did some interviews kind of all over. We didn't really have a specific place we wanted to go. And Marian was actually kind of a throw-in as far as his interviews. He just saw about the opening. He was like, I don't really know anything about this place, but I'll just try it. He's like, maybe it'll be a practice interview because it was one of his first ones. But during the interview, he actually found that he was very interested and he really liked the people that he talked to and he liked what he heard. And whenever he did a couple other interviews, but whenever Marian gave him an offer, he thought that it was a really great offer. And we kind of looked at the area and it was just seemed like it was meant to be. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, and now, so you as a non-traditional kind of senior now, too, like, what have been some of the things that you've liked about Marian?
I enjoy the size of Marian a lot. I actually, when my husband was in grad school at Iowa State, I did try to go back to school then and go to Iowa State, and it was just so overwhelming for me. I know some people thrive in, like, big schools like that. It was just not for me. It made me very anxious. So I love the size of Marian and like the social work program. I think has really great people. You're one of them.
Yeah.
Just the social work program and I don't know, I just feel like everyone's very kind. And I don't have a Catholic background, but I did grow up in the church. And I always really enjoyed kind of Catholicism and Mass and like the traditionalism of it and things like that. So it's been kind of fun to learn more about that side of things.
Yeah. Now, do you have plans for when you graduate?
Hopefully grad school to get my master's starting this summer. Mm-hmm. So. And
after your master's, are you thinking therapy or what are you thinking with your degree?
I don't have a set in stone plan at this point, but I'm interested in a few things. I'm really interested in doing like NICU social work. I like in hospital work, but I also am certified as a birth and bereavement doula and have spent a lot of time working with pregnant new moms, newborns in that population. So I'd like to kind of stay in that wheelhouse.
Perfect. All right. Well, so we did come here to talk about tattoos. So let's get to the kind of the focus of the show. So you said you had 4 tattoos.
Yes.
So I can see 2 of them, I feel like right now, but so what are your tattoos?
Yeah. So I've got this one over here. It is a heart that says "Fight Like a Girl." This was my second tattoo. This one I got in Springfield, Missouri. My husband's family lives in a small town outside Springfield, and when we were there visiting, there is a girl who he went to high school with, and we have some mutual friends who is a tattoo artist, and so I followed her on Instagram or Facebook, I can't remember, and she posted about a flash event that she was doing that was the proceeds, or like a portion of the proceeds from any tattoos from this flash event were going to Springfield's Me Too movement, where they helped women in domestic violence situations and sexual assault survivors, which I thought was super cool. And this was kind of the height of the Me Too movement when it was at its apex. And so I looked at her flash sheet, and I saw this one and loved it. It says, "Fight like a girl." So I sent her a message, and I was like, hey, I'm in town just briefly, but I would love to get this tattoo. And I think I asked her if she could edit it a little bit. I can't remember what I changed. It may have been the font or something. And she was like, absolutely. So I went and got it done there, and then a portion of those proceeds went to that, which I thought was really great. Yeah, so that's, I guess, the story behind that one.
Yeah, that's interesting. So, yeah, I like that. From a distance, I couldn't quite tell like what it said. It almost looked like some of those like kind of
People
like a
ask
heartbeat.
what it says,
like,
yeah.
But I like that. Yeah, I like the
Yeah.
heart too.
Yeah. Yeah, so then the first one I ever got is right here. And it is like the most basic of all basic tattoos. So I got this one 2014 maybe, something like that. And me and my sister both had always wanted a tattoo, but our parents were not tattoo people. They're still not, but they love us and accept us anyway. So we had neither of us had any tattoos, and we both really wanted one. And she was like, hey, we should go together and get matching tattoos. We didn't know what we wanted. We just knew we wanted something. So we just kind of Googled tattoos, really, if I'm being honest. There was very little research done. We were like, oh, birds, we like that. So we get to about a week before our appointment, and my sister calls me, and she's like, I don't know if I still want to do this. She chickened out on me. She had a reason that I can't remember at this time. But she was like, if you still want to do it, then I'll pay for yours because I feel bad that I'm chickening out. So I was like, yeah, free tattoo, cool. So she went with me and she paid for it, and I got these little birds. And I have no feelings about them. They're birds and they're there, and I was just excited to get a tattoo.
Now, so this is interesting to me, right? So you're not the first person to have like a matching tattoo with her sister, actually, even on this podcast. So like, is there like a give and take when it comes to that? Like, I want this, like, how do you come to a consensus of, yes, we're both going to get this? And I know she chickened out, but were you both going to get it on your wrist? Like, how matching were you going to be?
I mean, yeah, we were both going to get them on our wrists. And it was, once again, there was so little thought put into this. Like, we were just like, we want to do something spontaneous, and we both always wanted a tattoo. Like, I think we typed into Google, like, tattoos. Like, I'm pretty sure that's what we did. And so the most like basic options, like the infinity signs and like the Harry Potter symbol, love those tattoos. Totally okay if you have those tattoos, by the way. But yeah, that's what came up, and we just kind of glanced through, and we were both like, oh, I kind of like the birds, and like I said, not a lot of thought.
And I'm always interested in like, the story behind it, like what it was, but then also like the placement, right? So is there anything with the wrist, or you got two on your arms, right? So
the wrist one, what's funny about that is we were thinking like, well, it's our first tattoo, so we want something small because it'll be less painful. But this goes to show that, once again, we did no research, because apparently the wrist is like one of the really, really painful places to get a tattoo because the skin is so thin or something. There's like tendons. So yeah, I went in thinking, oh, this isn't gonna hurt too bad because it's so small. But no, I got it in like a super painful place. Yeah, I'm glad it's small, because if I had gotten a large one in a painful place, then I don't know if I would have gotten any more.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that placement was just
what it was.
Just what it was.
Now, so you touched on something else that happens a lot in this podcast, is where people get tattoos and someone in their family, usually it's their parents, don't like them. So how old were you when you got that one?
Like 22.
Okay, so like
Ish,
like older, like you an adult. But,
oh yeah.
But did you hide it from your parents? Did you tell your parents?
No, my parents knew, but at that point they were like, "You're an adult, do what you want." But my sister, who is the one who chickened out, now has more tattoos than me, which is funny. She has both arms pretty well covered. But anytime that any of us come home with another tattoo, or not come home because we don't live with them, but they see we got another tattoo, they're just both like, ugh. It's fine. Like, we're adults and they let us do what we want.
Yeah.
But
now, is there any more talk with your sister about getting a matching one? Now that
we've been talking about it for years, and it just hasn't happened. I'm sure someday we will.
Very cool. All
Yeah.
right. So now my eyes are drawn to this one here.
This is the one people usually notice. I don't know if the camera can see. So this is just a floral piece. Once again, I don't have a lot of meanings to my tattoos. So the floral is just, it's pretty, and I like it. And I like really feminine things. And I kind of liked the idea, since I had like the tough fight like a girl over here, doing something more like on the softer feminine side over here, because I do feel like I have both of those sides to me. So yeah, I just thought the flowers were really pretty. The artist that I did this with, I basically told her, I gave her some sample pictures and said I really would like a floral piece. And she said she'd draw something up, and she sent it to me, and it was this, but it had a bee right here. And I hate bugs, all kinds of bugs, crawling bugs, flying bugs. Bees are like important for the world. I recognize that, but I don't want them on my body. I don't want them near me. And I have an issue speaking up for myself sometimes. So I was actually very proud of myself, because I was like, that bee cannot be there.
Good for you.
Like, I cannot look at a bee, because I will panic every time I see it, thinking there is a bug crawling on me. So yeah, otherwise, I really loved the mock-up that she did, and that's the only thing that she changed. And yeah, so this was my most recent, and it's been 3 years probably since I got it.
Now, how long did that one take? Because it looks pretty in-depth.
4 or 5 hours. Yeah, a lot of it was just these like detailed inner parts of the flowers that I kept thinking, like, she's got to be done. Is she done? Is she done? Like, is this almost over?
Yeah.
I survived, but.
Good. Was there any thought to do it in color?
No, I don't know. None of mine are in color. And I don't know, there's not really a reason for that, except I like the look of just the black, personally. And I feel like on some people, color ages well, and on some people it doesn't, and I don't know if it will on me, so I just stick to black. I don't know.
Yeah. All right. Now, you said 4, right? I think we talked about...
so the last one is right over here. And it is a semicolon.
Okay, yeah.
Which you may be aware, but in case anyone is not, the semicolon tattoo is a symbol of, it's a suicide awareness thing, saying, like, a semicolon is used to replace the end of a sentence to show that the sentence goes on. And so that is symbolism for, instead of a life ending at suicide, a life going on. So I got that during a suicide awareness event, and yeah, that's about it.
Well, so I'm starting to pick up on a theme of, like, you have 2 kind of social justice, if you want to say that way, or like,
Sure, yeah.
related at least to social work, which we are both fond of, right? So yeah, you do have some meaning behind your tattoos.
Right. Well, I mean, if I'm gonna spit, like, the thing that holds me back from getting tattoos, and the reason I don't have more, is because they're expensive, and I'm not a person who spends money freely.
Yeah.
And so when I know that the money is also going towards something that I care about, then it makes me a little more like, yeah, I'm willing to put money into this. And
Yeah. And so that one, it looks like it's on your rib. That also looks like a painful spot.
yeah, but it's like tiny, so not a big deal.
Was there symbolism behind that location, or is it just kind of like just where I wanted it?
No, I don't know. There wasn't really. I think they had like a limited, because it was an event and they were like cycling through people quickly. I think they were limited on where you could get them. So they had like, you can choose this spot, this spot, this spot.
Okay.
And I chose one.
So, talked a little bit about your parents' reactions, but I know you have kids. So, how have you, like, and you've gotten these, I think, while you, while you had your kids, right? Not like before.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe not minus the birds, but like, how have your kids responded to seeing like a new thing on your body?
So the thing is, I also have had a tendency throughout their whole lives to change my hair drastically, like dye it different colors and like do things like that. So they really don't bat an eye. They might like say like, oh, like that's different, but they don't really think about it. My kids actually do really love the flowers, because sometimes they'll get markers and color them.
Oh, that's fun.
So yeah, that's really the main reaction, is like, ooh, can we color it?
Say, well, if you've been really good, like, we'll let you color it. That's fun. That's cool. And what about your husband?
He is very like, you do what makes you happy. Like that is just his mantra. He actually got his first tattoos a few months ago. Did you go with him? No, I stayed home with the kids.
Oh, okay. So I'll have to get him on the podcast too later, it seems like.
For sure.
Anything else you want to talk about your tattoos? Because I have a couple of different random questions too, but I don't want to cut you off on any details.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I did mention my parents' reactions. I will say the reason I didn't get any tattoos earlier is because my parents helped me pay for school the first time I went. And they told me that if I paid to get a tattoo, I would not only have to pay for the tattoo, but I would have to pay them back the money that I could have put towards school that I instead put towards a tattoo. So I'd be paying twice.
Yep.
So that is why I did not get any tattoos earlier.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Harsh accountant, but yeah.
I know.
I get it. Looking back on the ones that you have, would you do any of them differently?
I mean, like I said, the birds are they're fine. I don't particularly care that they're there. I wouldn't particularly care if they weren't there. But it's a funny story to remind my sister about how she chickened out on me. So there's that. But otherwise, no, I like them all.
Do you plan on getting any more? Okay. Do you have so are you just open to it, or no, I have plans and at some point. Okay, so what do you
plan to? I have a huge list of things that I would absolutely get if I just had all the money in the world to spare. What I've been thinking about doing next, though, so my favorite moment in all of cinema is in Lord of the Rings when Éowyn pulls off the mask after Sauron says, "No man can kill me," and she says, "I am no man," and then she kills him. Love that. And so I've thought about adding to this arm, because once again, this is the women are strong arm. So adding something to do with that over here, having a sword with that quote or something. I think that's what I want to do next.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I like that. And I again, you kind of talking about that kind of almost like a duality of femininity of very strong, but also soft too. And you've got both of those, and you kind of have both of them on your. I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, and that's one thing I work really hard to instill in my daughter is that you can be both. You don't have to pick one or the other. So.
Yeah, I like that. All right, so that would be for you, and I like to ask this question to everybody too. So if you could give a tattoo to anybody in your life, and they'd had to do it, who would you pick and what would you make them get?
Oh, man. That's a hard one.
Yeah, it's a thinker.
Honestly, I don't even know what I'd have him get, but I'd probably choose my dad because he is so he would never get a tattoo.
Yeah.
He would never do it. But he teaches high schoolers, and they would think he was so cool if he did. So I don't know what I'd have him get, but I think it would be awesome if my dad got a tattoo.
Yeah.
So.
There's been other people on the show that have said something similar, and they're oh, maybe just even my name, because then he wouldn't even get that mad, but he'd still have a tattoo.
Yeah, he'd just have it.
Right, yeah, because there is this interesting kind of thing of dynamic of kind of generations sometimes of or even I've had people that their parents have tattoos too, but they still didn't want them to get a tattoo or So if your kids come to you at a certain age and they're "Oh, Mom, I think I want to get a tattoo," are you gonna be all supportive, you think, or?
If they are over 18, I'm gonna say absolutely. If they're younger, it's something we'd have to really talk about, what they wanted and why. And I think that tattoos can be removed, but generally it's a permanent decision on your body. So if you're really young, I don't want you to do something that you'll regret later. But I also know that there are tattoos I might have gotten at 15 that I would still love today. So yeah, I think that it just depends on the situation and the maturity.
Yeah.
So.
Now, I don't know if I've asked this question before, but it just popped into my head on the show. So you're going to be graduating, you're going to maybe go into grad school, and then enter in a kind of a professional career. Do you think, are you nervous at all about your tattoos, or do you think that's really for what you want to do, that really is probably going to be a non-issue?
I'm not nervous, partially because I don't have any that can't be covered. I'm never going to get a face tattoo. I don't have any plans to get one that can't be covered if necessary. But even if I did, I don't think that it's as much of an issue as it used to be.
Yeah.
That stigma is kind of breaking down. Obviously, if you have a tattoo of something that is controversial, I can see maybe a workplace taking an issue with that. But in the industry, and also in the social work industry, at least where I've been around, a lot of people have tattoos. It's becoming a lot more normalized, and it's no longer considered such a taboo or unprofessional thing.
Yeah.
So.
It's actually interesting you mentioned social work, right? Because that's my field as well. And when I was in the PhD program, I had a fellow PhD student that I was pretty close with, and they had a lot of tattoos, like up the neck, like on the knuckles, hands, had gauges in their ear that they were getting rid of. But, you know, they had that look, and they were incredibly smart, all that stuff. But they still got some flack from some of the older faculty of like, ooh, you know, you're probably going to have a hard time getting a job at a university looking like this. And I love their responses. They were just like, I don't think that's true. But if that is, I probably won't want to work at that place anyways.
Maybe not the place for me,
Right, because why would I pick a place where I couldn't be myself?
Yeah.
So they did get a job at a university. They're doing very well from what I can tell.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that I think there's still slight elements of that in some cases.
There are.
But I think at some point it's just going to be like, so many people have them that it's just, we can't keep saying that they're not professional or that they're trashy or whatever.
Well, something funny, I used to have my nose pierced, and but when I was in college the first time, I was there for elementary education, and before I started actually going into the classrooms, I had a professor pull me aside, and she basically gently suggested that I take the nose ring out, because she thought that in the classroom, you know, some of the teachers and administrators and maybe some of the students even would see that as being problematic, which, once again, now a nose piercing no one really even thinks about. This was in 2010, which wasn't that long ago, but still, it's funny to me looking back now, because she made me nervous and I took it out, and then it closed up, because it closes up fast, and so now I'm like, why did I let her talk me into taking it out, because now I'd have to get it redone if I wanted to, but yeah, it's interesting how fast I feel like that has kind of flipped. But
yeah, it's interesting. It's going to be really interesting to see, you know, I don't know why this popped up, but like, we ever see like a politician that like predominantly shows off tattoos.
Yeah.
That would be maybe at some point.
At some point.
I can't think of any off the top of my head that do it now, but
Yeah.
like, I feel like that would be an interesting thing to see at some point.
It would be.
But yeah. All right. Well, I feel like that's a good conversation. So I appreciate your time. Just thank you so much for sharing. And as anyone's listening, just obviously thank you for listening. And then also, if you ever want to be a guest, if you got some cool tattoos or a cool tattoo story, just reach out. You can be a guest and we can talk and hear about your tattoos. So thanks everybody for watching, and see you next episode.
Thank you.
The symphony